right, sorry about that. We just lost the feed at the very end. And lost the feed at the very end, but Obama wrapping up, still on the stage. Very much his last big public speech in front of a crowd like this. Lots of thank you signs here and folks singing along. Another call and response speech. Folks yelling from the audience. This is what it looks like from the floor of the Democratic National Convention, sitting among the Pennsylvania and the Virginia delegation. And it's going to be a while till folks clear out. He will be flying back to the White House tonight on Air Force One. Very short flight from Philadelphia to Washington. Oh, and look who's coming out. A little surprise here. A big hug for the candidates and the president. Of course, they were bitter rivals in 2008. A lot of bad blood, but they made up. She became his Secretary of State, and now running off those credentials, she has won the Democratic nomination. Although that is still a bitter race for many Bernie supporters tonight. A lot of no TTIP signs directed at President Obama, of course, who was the chief negotiator and driver of the TTIP trade agreement. A few banned fracking signs as well. There's even a locker up sign, which goes against what many Bernie Sanders campaign organizers were trying to downplay or stop. But there are some angry Bernie supporters still taking to the floor. They are being drowned out right now, though, by the large packed house all the way to the upper levels. Never want to miss a Barack Obama speech. One person standing next to me said he is the best speaker of all time. So that's going to wrap it up. There's going to be a slight benediction, but then that's it for tonight. Tomorrow we're back for the last day of this and Hillary Clinton's long anticipated speech. Something we've been working up almost 2 weeks now after the Republicans last week. And now 3 days of the Democratic National Convention now. We're going to walk around the floor a little while, and then we're going to try and get some folks' takes on the speeches, particularly Barack Obama's. Weighing up his achievements the last 8 years, and also admitting he didn't do everything he wanted to. Wanted to do more. Some folks even yelled 4 more years at one point during the speech.
We recognize our desperate need. Each of us, Democrats, Republicans, and Independents, we know that we depend on you and that you love us all. And as we walk toward the autumn of elections, we pray you would guide our great nation. Lord, help us transcend the nefarious traps of cynicism, despair, and division with the courageous work of hope and love. Teach us to continue to cherish and
to the audience right side.
Every human being. Help us, God, never to tire in the work of compassion and justice. Instruct us to be ever mindful of the most vulnerable among us, the child, the widow,
very slow moving on the floor
orphan,
here.
the immigrant, and the refugee.
It's at a packed house. Some people pushing by. And we're all going in the same direction.
Help us, God, to hew the future of our great
probably more important.
the bedrock of love. May our work reflect your character of compassion, justice,
So let's mosey over to the Illinois delegation, which is where I was 12 years ago during his now famous speech, the 2004 convention in Boston. He brought back some of that speech tonight, talking about his grandparents in Kansas, big screams from the Kansas delegation, and really talked about the values across the generations to drive home a counterbalance to what he believes Trump represents. Oh, we're down here. So this is what it's like. Walking on the floor. It's loosening up a little bit here, but not too much. And here we have the different media outlets. This is CNN, MSNBC here. And there's Wolf Blitzer, as you can see. So if you watch CNN right now, you could probably see us live periscoping. There's the Illinois delegation. Let's get over there and ask them a few questions. If you have questions for them, throw us out here. Great to see everybody online now, almost 300 people. Thanks for all the love. Apologies for all the technical issues. The internet signal is very hit and miss down here, but we made it work. And in 4 years, this will probably be the norm. Everybody will be periscoping. But for now, there's some very old school cameras and equipment, very much like it was in 2004. And probably one of the last years we'll do it this way. There's Marcia Fudge, the stand-in for Debbie Wasserman Schultz, who of course resigned at the beginning of the week. And we're going to switch microphones here one moment here. Jesse Jackson, let's get in.
Watching him kind of allude to this as his last go around here?
Well, it is because he's made America a better country. When he came in, we lost 800,000 jobs that month. The banks were collapsed. Automotive industry was in collapse. There have been a net gain of jobs every month now for 7+ years. 20 million Americans have health insurance that didn't have it before. Cuba's been reconnected. So in many ways, while there are unmet problems, America's on the rise again.
Thank you, Reverend. Appreciate it. See you.
Jackson, we're live on Periscope. You got just a couple questions here for us? Yeah. So tonight's speech, he refrained from the last 12 years. Do you think this is a country better off than 12 years ago?
We are. 8 years ago, our auto industry was gone. Americans didn't want to buy American cars. We're number one in the world again. But we lost 800,000 jobs in 1 month. Now we've had a net gain of jobs every month for 7 years in a row. 20 million Americans have health insurance who did not have it before. By many estimates, we're better off. There's unfinished business, but by most estimates, we're better off 8 years later.
And you, of course, were with Dr. King when he was shot, and he referenced killing bin Laden tonight. One of the woman was part of that death, and we heard that Hillary was part of that. What would Dr. King say today about the innocent deaths that have been caused at both Barack Obama's hand and Hillary Clinton during Secretary of State, what they call collateral damage?
Innocent deaths, but you wouldn't put Osama bin Laden in that category. Dr. King said, well, he believed in nonviolence. He would have drawn with those theologians who sought to overthrow Hitler. He thought Hitler was absolutely evil in the world. So Osama bin Laden was planning to blow up people, blow up buildings. He was an absolute evil. So don't associate that with some of these killings of what they call collateral damage. It's always a mixed challenge, but I think that given the terror in the world today, that he has not been a warmonger. It's been different. He's been a peacemaker, not just a peacekeeper.
And finally, what are we going to do about the south side of Chicago? I'm from Chicago as well, and it's still an ongoing issue. How do we solve that?
That's why I want him to come to Chicago before he leaves on the south and west sides and bring with him the agencies of government. We need to have a conference on violence, guns in, drugs in, jobs out. A conference focused on racial disparity and poverty, and a plan for reconstruction. In Chicago, we've lost 80,000 vacant homes and abandoned lots, 50 public schools, drugstores, grocery stores. But that's right here in Philadelphia. 500,000 Philadelphians, 500,000 are functionally illiterate, and 400,000 are criminal records. 5% of the kids here are in Penn State, 49% black in State Penn. So there are some gaps in the inner city, and those need to be addressed. I hope that that's the role that Clinton will play, Bill will play for Hillary.
Reverend Jackson, thank you so much. So there you go, Reverend Jackson commenting about the speech. He has been on the front lines of history for the last 50 years. Of course, he was at the Lorraine Motel when Martin Luther King was shot. He was at Barack Obama's speech in 2004, and he is here again sitting with the Illinois delegation, which is right up front on the stage, a little bit to the left. Illinois, of course, not only where Barack Obama's house is now and where he built his political career after moving there and went to school, but it's also where Hillary Clinton was born, although she has not lived there for many, many years. Let's see if there's any other questions out there. What does Jesse do? Jesse is a reverend, and he also is a civil rights leader. At this point, he runs a sizable organization in Chicago, and which often trains new leaders as well. So he is still a busy man, even all these years later. Let's see if we can find some other folks here. Maybe not quite with the political clout of Jesse Jackson, but let's see if there's how are you, sir? We're live on Periscope. Can you answer a couple questions about the speech tonight? No, okay. Okay, not at evidence, so doesn't want to speak. All right, let's see if somebody else. Hi, sir. Mind if we ask a couple questions? We're live on Periscope? Yeah. No, not understood. Okay, no worries. So a few folks just kind of chilling after the speech, but we'll find a few as well. And again, we are live on the floor of the Democratic National Convention following Barack Obama's speech, perhaps one of the last big speeches he'll give to a crowd this size. Oh, Governor Gray Davis here, former Governor Gray Davis of California, also in the crowd. Haven't heard from him for a while. He, of course, was defeated by Arnold Schwarzenegger during a recall election many years ago, but is still present at many Democratic events. Let's see if we can try and get a few words with him as well. Because many people have likened Trump to Schwarzenegger. Governor Davis, quick, we're live on Periscope. Quick couple of questions here. Yep. So my Lyft driver the other day said that Donald Trump reminds her of Arnold Schwarzenegger. Do you see any parallels between those two campaigns, and do you see a chance of reversing what was not able back then?
Well, they're both celebrities, but Arnold was committed to the environment, and we've actually worked together on a number of things when he was in office and to this day. There's nothing that Trump says that I agree with. So he is unaware of the difficulty of governing this country, unaware of the complicated world we live in today, and contradicts himself almost within every sentence. I was on a show earlier today, and they said Donald Trump called for a $10 minimum wage. Did you see that? And I said, well, actually, he didn't. First, he says, I don't know if we should have a minimum wage, but maybe we should keep what we have, or maybe we should increase it, but I think the state should decide. So that's what I call multiple answers. You pick the answer you like. 4 different answers. When you're president, you can't give 4 answers.
And of course, union members are particularly interested in the minimum wage. You had a good relationship with the unions when you were governor. What's the key to attracting the rank and file union members versus the leadership for Hillary Clinton?
Well, we have to remind them how important it is to support hardworking people, and we have to lift up all boats. I was a big fan of John Kennedy's, who said a rising tide lifts all boats, but clearly that is not happening today. One positive step is to do what California has already done, enacted a minimum wage. We phased it in over 6 years. Other states hopefully will follow, and hopefully the federal government will follow. If there's one thing we learned from Bernie and to some extent Trump, there's a lot of people hurting out there, and this is one concrete step to change that.
And last question, when in one of your campaigns, you had a Green Party candidate in the debates, Peter Camejo. Do you think Jill Stein should be in at least one of the debates this time so folks can really hear everybody's message who's running?
You know, I don't know the rules of presidential debates. I think they have a standard you have to meet, and if the Green Party meets that standard, then fine. If they don't, it'll be the two persons debating. But I think that'll be very instructive for people because Trump really has been able to skate on insults, intimidations, and evasion. and one-on-one, which it probably will be, it'll be apparent to people he has no plan, no idea, no real future for this country.
Very good. Thank you, Governor. Take care. Yep. Governor Gray Davis, there, formerly of California. He, of course, was beaten by Arnold Schwarzenegger back in the day when there was a recall election in California. That was largely over the tripling of the motor tax, which angered a lot of number of people. But also, Arnold Schwarzenegger's celebrity itself was really a driving force to him winning that election quite handily. And again, folks I've talked to this week and last week, including a Lyft driver from Cleveland, she says that Donald Trump very much reminds her of the Arnold Schwarzenegger campaign. And that was a winning campaign for Schwarzenegger, so it remains to be seen if Trump's going to repeat the same magic that Schwarzenegger had. Slightly different two celebrities, of course. One a little more loved than the other, a little less contentious, but still very much a chance, as the polls have showed, for Trump to repeat that magic. So walking here, the Arkansas delegation, as you can see, breaking up. They're right front and center. Arkansas is Hillary's adopted home state when she moved there with her husband. And as we heard last night from Bill Clinton, she did a lot of work towards childhood education. Oh, the bright lights. Many people reacting to that. Maybe a little too ironic. The sunlight on politics, of course, is not always what folks like, but so it is. And so hopefully folks are okay with their appearance with these bright lights. So let's see if we can get one more interview here. We just spoke with Reverend Jesse Jackson and Governor Gray Davis, of course. So lots of folks here on the floor reacting and watching Barack Obama again for what was probably his last big speech as president, and possibly ever, depending on what he decides to do next. Many people think he might go to the Supreme Court, or might be appointed by, potentially, President Hillary Clinton. So that may be a future job for him. But for now, he is spending the last few months as president, and likely will campaign quite vigorously for his former rival from 2008. Let's see if we can find one other person here. How are you, sir? We're live on Periscope. We mind if we just ask a couple quick questions on the speech?
Well, I'm not a delegate.
No, that's all right. No, your opinion matters just like everybody's, if you're all right. Okay, no worries. Staying out of the news. Get that part. Yep. So, all right. So let's see here. So let's see if we can find somebody who might want to go on camera here. But very orderly. Here, a lot of stronger economy, stronger together signs here on the floor. A bit of a mess. Let's see, somebody likes Reese's Pieces. Maybe E.T. was here earlier. So lots of cleaning up to do, most likely done by the low-wage workers here at the Wells Fargo Center. Many of them are people of color, same as Cleveland. After the balloon drop at the Republican Party, it was hard not to notice the African Americans who were popping balloons and cleaning up around the largely white audience. This is a little more diverse here, but certainly they're not a self-cleaning party. So that will be done by folks working very late tonight and taking the bus home. How are you, sir? Let's see if we can get this gentleman here. He's wearing a Stop T-tip, but also a Hillary button, so interesting juxtaposition. How are you? Hi, we're live on Periscope. You guys mind just ask a couple quick questions here? Sure. Yeah, great. So interesting combination of buttons here, because we saw there's a Bernie button, a Stop T-tip button, but also a Hillary button. So a lot of Stop T-tip signs tonight. What did you think of the kind of delegation up in the rafters that were kind of standing silent in contrary to what a lot of people were tonight?
Well, I'm a Bernie delegate and proud of it. I think people who are against the nominee, it's not an option. The alternative is not an option. And I get it. They're frustrated, but we move on. People have to understand that what Bernie did, he planted the seed. So the revolution continues. It's not just because Bernie did not become the nominee, but now it's up to us to go out there and hold our elected officials accountable, and also probably run for office or so forth. As far as Stop TPP, I'm all for it. But I think now that the nominee has been declared, there's no need to protest. Just hold elected officials accountable, be respectful. Especially tomorrow, we have a nominee who's going to be the future president of the United States. And so much is at stake. And basically, let's grow up, let's mature, support the nominee, and then when she gets elected, support her by electing other ones in the state legislature and so forth like that.
And how about you? Do you believe that Hillary is going to stop TTIP, especially given her past support for trade programs like NAFTA?
Well, again, we're brothers in the same union, and I'm a Clinton delegate, as you can see. TPP is going to pass regardless of what Hillary says or does. The current Congress is really pushing for it. Obama's pushing for it. Hillary is against it, but unfortunately, I don't think she has the power to stop it.
So which union?
Our union is against TPP also.
So which union are you with?
Association of Flight Attendants.
So talk to me then about Obama's support. Was that really disappointing for you, and does it kind of solely kind of his overall legacy of 8 years in office?
Well, there's nothing wrong with free trade, as they said. And I think we all benefit, the consumer and the manufacturer, actually the employee. The difference is that we can't compete with workers overseas with less pay. I mean, the cost of living in America is too expensive. You can't pay a worker 15 cents. So that is the big difference. It's like we want equal playing field. If those workers have the same worker rights that we do, then it's okay. But now they have a clear advantage over us. So that's why we're against TPP. And specifically on the airline, I mean, we wouldn't be able to compete with workers that are paying $1 an hour when here in America, no airline worker could survive with that.
Yeah, look at Norwegian Air Shuttle. That's one thing we have fought against. You know, it's licensed in Norway. Employees are based in the Philippines, and they'll put them in New York, but they're paid a third of what we're paid. And the safety standards that they have are not what we have here in the United States.
But also very cheap fares, and consumers seem to love it, which is also what the appeal of Walmart is. She served on the board of Walmart. I mean, her actions just seem to contradict that she's always on the side of unions and the American worker. I mean, how do you reconcile that?
Well, Walmart was an Arkansas-based company, and it employed Arkansans that worked in Arkansas. There was shipping, there's receiving, there's probably some manufacturing there. There's construction jobs that Walmart created for people in Arkansas. And if you're a first lift, of course you can support your local economy.
But they also were very, hostile to union organization over the years.
Was Walmart or was she hostile union?
Well, no, they were. But what did she do to counteract that? That you know?
That I can't say. I don't know. I can't speak to that.
And is that something your union or the union movement is going to ask her in the coming weeks and months?
Probably. Like I said right now, I don't shop at Walmart. Number one, it's tacky. But number two, but I know people that have to shop at Walmart. They have to. For me, I have the options, and I have the salary I can afford to not have to shop at Walmart.
Well, thanks so much, and thanks for your time and your comments here on Periscope. So there you've heard it. We're going to wrap up a little bit here. Still a lot going on. Not as quickly cleared out as before. The other nights, people milling around. Festive atmosphere. Again, historic speech from Obama, if only because it's one of his last of the side, if not the last. And he, in many ways, played back his legacy, not just for the last 8 years, but what he achieved since 12 years ago when he sat down or stood up in front of this crowd, this very similar crowd. Many of the same people were here 12 years ago in Boston at the Democratic National Convention there, and made a name for himself on the national stage. So let's see, any other questions? So a lot of Trump supporters there. K-Jet, big Trump supporter. We are getting that. And yes, lots of free stuff here. If anybody needs a sign that says thank you, even if it's not sending that message to Obama, you could definitely get a few here. There's also Scranton. I might send that to the folks from the office. And and there's an American Teachers fan. Might grab that one there. So we wrap it up here. Thanks again for joining us here, and we will do it all again tomorrow for the final day of the Democratic National Convention with Hillary Clinton's speech. Many people long awaiting this speech to see if she is able to uptick in the polls and start to take a lead over Trump. So good night from Philadelphia. See you tomorrow.